The autumn of 1859 settled over Monroe Creek like a living thing. Thick fog rolled through the Louisiana swamps every evening, wrapping the isolated village in damp silence. Cypress trees leaned over the black water like twisted skeletons, and the air carried the smell of mud, moss, and decay. The people of Monroe Creek believed the swamp remembered everything. Old stories claimed the spirits of the dead wandered there at night, whispering secrets to anyone foolish enough to listen. Most people laughed at those tales during daylight. But after sunset, nobody entered the swamp alone. That was why the arrival of Samuel Carter unsettled the town before he even spoke a single word. He was only 7 years old when Dr. Elizabeth Monroe first saw him standing outside the sheriff's office. Thin. Barefoot. Quiet. His dark eyes seemed too calm for a child his age. While the other children in town played, shouted, or cried, Samuel simply watched people with a strange stillness that made grown men uncomfortable. The sheriff spoke nervously while handing the boy over to Dr. Monroe. "Something's wrong with him," he muttered. "Folks are already talking." Dr. Monroe ignored the fear in his voice. She knelt in front of Samuel and studied him carefully. "What is your name?" she asked gently. The boy looked directly into her eyes. "Samuel Carter," he answered softly. "My mama said God hears everything, even the things buried underground." The words sent a faint chill through her. Elizabeth Monroe was not an ordinary woman for her time. She had studied medicine in Philadelphia, returning to Louisiana years earlier after inheriting property from her late father. Many people in Monroe Creek distrusted her because she was educated, unmarried, and outspoken against cruelty. But even Elizabeth, who believed strongly in science and reason, felt unsettled by the child standing before her. She took Samuel into her home that same evening. At first, the boy behaved normally enough. He ate quietly, answered questions politely, and showed remarkable intelligence for someone who had never attended school. Within days, he was reading simple passages from medical books in her study. Within weeks, he was memorizing anatomy diagrams faster than her own former classmates had done in medical school. But there was something else about him. Something impossible. One cold evening, Samuel sat beside the fireplace while Dr. Monroe wrote notes at her desk. Without looking up, he suddenly spoke. "The butcher's wife is going to die tomorrow morning." Elizabeth froze. "What did you say?" Samuel stared into the flames. "She has sickness in her lungs," he whispered. "The voices said she won't survive the night." Dr. Monroe felt irritation rise in her chest. "Samuel, people don't predict death," she said firmly. "And there are no voices." The boy slowly turned toward her. "They come from the swamp," he replied calmly. "Sometimes they whisper. Sometimes they scream." The next morning, the butcher's wife was found dead in her bed after coughing blood through the night. That was the first time Dr. Monroe felt true fear. After that, strange incidents multiplied. Samuel could look at strangers and reveal details he had no possible way of knowing. He spoke about hidden illnesses before symptoms appeared. He described crimes committed years earlier by people he had never met. And every time he exposed someone carrying darkness inside them, tragedy followed. A plantation owner who secretly murdered enslaved children died in his carriage days after Samuel publicly accused him. A preacher who sold families apart poisoned himself after Samuel described the nightmares haunting him. A violent slave catcher broke his neck when his horse threw him into a tree only hours after Samuel quietly warned, "The dead are waiting for him." The town became consumed by fear. White residents whispered that the boy was cursed. Some claimed he was possessed by demons. Others believed he practiced witchcraft taught by enslaved elders in secret ceremonies hidden deep within the swamp. But among the black families of Monroe Creek, the whispers were different. They believed Samuel carried the sight. An old man named Jeremiah visited Dr. Monroe's property one evening just before sundown. He found Samuel sitting near the edge of the swamp, staring into the dark water. "You hear them clear now, don't you, boy?" Jeremiah asked quietly. Samuel nodded. "They never stop talking anymore." Jeremiah lowered himself beside him carefully. "Your mama had the gift too," he said. "Her grandmother before her. It comes from old blood. Old places across the ocean before slavery." Samuel listened silently. "The white folks fear what they don't understand," Jeremiah continued. "And they fear smart black children most of all. A boy like you reminds them their lies ain't true." "What lies?" Samuel asked. "That we're less than them." The swamp wind moved through the trees like distant whispers. Jeremiah looked toward the dark water uneasily. "You gotta learn to hide what you are," he warned. "Folks kill what scares them." But Samuel already knew that. The voices had shown him. As months passed, the visions grew worse. Samuel no longer saw only individual deaths. He saw entire battlefields covered in blood. Cities burning. Black soldiers fighting in blue Union uniforms. Chains breaking. Crowds screaming. Men hanging from trees while others celebrated beneath them. One night Dr. Monroe found him trembling violently on the floor beside his bed. "What's happening?" she asked in panic. Samuel's eyes filled with tears. "They're showing me the future," he whispered. "A war is coming. So many people are going to die." Dr. Monroe held him tightly, though her own hands shook. "You're just a child." "No," Samuel replied weakly. "Not anymore." Then came Benjamin Cole. The slave trader arrived in Monroe Creek during the spring of 1857 seeking treatment for severe stomach pain. The moment Samuel saw him enter Dr. Monroe's office, he nearly collapsed. For the first time, fear appeared openly in the boy's eyes. "He's like me," Samuel whispered later that night. Dr. Monroe frowned. "What do you mean?" "He hears things too," Samuel said. "But he uses it differently." Benjamin Cole possessed the same unnatural intuition Samuel carried, but where Samuel exposed cruelty, Cole exploited it. He used his gift to manipulate enslaved people psychologically, learning their fears and weaknesses to break them more easily. When the two finally spoke alone, Cole smiled coldly at the boy. "You think you're different from me," he said. "But gifts are just tools. The world decides whether they become blessings or weapons." Samuel hated him instantly. But the encounter planted terrible doubt inside him. What if the voices weren't justice? What if they were simply anger? What if he was becoming something dangerous? Weeks later, Benjamin Cole died painfully from cancer. Before his death, however, he confessed his crimes in a letter to Dr. Monroe and admitted Samuel had forced him to confront the monster he had become. The confession haunted Samuel deeply. For the first time, he wondered if even terrible people could seek redemption. Then came the final death. Judge Albert Crane was one of the most powerful men in Louisiana, known for brutally sentencing enslaved people with no mercy. During a social gathering at a wealthy estate, Samuel suddenly stood in front of the judge and exposed horrific crimes hidden beneath Crane's polished public image. The room fell silent. Crane's face turned crimson with rage. "You filthy little animal," he hissed. "You dare accuse me?" Samuel's voice remained calm. "The voices say the dead already judged you." Panic erupted. Several men moved toward Samuel violently, but Dr. Monroe shielded him and rushed him home immediately. That night, she made a decision. Samuel had to leave. "They'll kill you," she told him urgently while packing supplies. "I can't protect you anymore." Samuel stood quietly by the window. "It won't matter," he said softly. "The judge is already marked." Through Underground Railroad contacts, Dr. Monroe arranged Samuel's escape northward under darkness. Before he left, she embraced him tightly. "You changed how I see the world," she whispered. Samuel gave her a sad smile. "You were the first person who saw me as human before seeing me as strange." 3 days later, Judge Crane was found dead at his desk. Witnesses claimed screams echoed through the courthouse moments before his collapse. After Samuel disappeared, rumors spread across America for decades. A mysterious black teenager helping escaped slaves navigate safe routes north. A battlefield scout during the Civil War predicting enemy attacks with impossible accuracy. A man appearing after racial massacres, recording the names of forgotten victims so history could not erase them. Some believed Samuel Carter became a ghost wandering through America's darkest tragedies. Others believed he was simply a man burdened with extraordinary perception in a cruel world. Dr. Elizabeth Monroe spent the remainder of her life documenting everything she had witnessed. Before her death in 1891, she sealed her journals away with strict instructions that they remain hidden for decades. In her final entry, she wrote, "Perhaps the true mystery of Samuel Carter was never whether he heard voices from the dead. Perhaps the real mystery is how many brilliant black minds were destroyed before the world ever had the chance to hear them speak."